After having revealed his name in the wilderness at the burning bush, God said to Moses, "I have observed the misery of my people who are in Egypt. I have heard their cry, an account of their taskmasters. Indeed, I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them from the Egyptians and bring them up out of that land to a good and broad land." God revealed to Moses that he is not a harsh and indifferent God. On the contrary, God knows our trials and tribulations. He knows the difficulties of our life, and he is moved by our cry. That's why God said to Moses that he has come down to deliver us. And this happens with the sending of his beloved Son. By his incarnation, Jesus Christ came down from heaven, being born in human likeness, as Paul says. But it is not enough to say that he was born as a man. He humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death. God is not indifferent. Indeed, Jesus truly came down, fulfilling the will of the Father to deliver us from death and to give us the bread of life. Indeed, Jesus himself says, "I am the living bread that came down from heaven. Whoever eats of this bread will live forever." Jesus gives himself to us in order that we live with him. While he was carrying his cross, Jesus fell. He fell several times. He came down to such an extent that he fell on the ground, this ground from which God formed man. Indeed, God kept his promise. He knows how we were made, and he remembered that we are dust. But he will bring us up to this kingdom. God is interested in each of us, wherever we are. Now that Jesus has fallen, God is able to pick up each of us through him. Jesus first will pick himself up and go on to carry his cross until the Golgotha, and then he will be lifted up from the earth in order to draw all people to himself. And he will be exalted so that we can be raised with him. This station reminds us how immoderate the love of God is for us, and how concerned God is to the sufferings and the need of each of us, whether we are standing or not. Pope Francis, in his message for Lent, invited us to confront what he calls the globalization of indifference. He said, "The world tends to withdraw into itself and shut that door through which God comes into the world, and the world comes to him." Let us ask that we may be granted by the grace of an interior renewal, so that, modeled on Jesus Christ, we become concerned by the need of our neighbor and allow God to make us an instrument of his love.